This is Beyond the Veil with Norman Meredith.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Norman coming from Pickens, South Carolina tonight with another episode of Beyond the Veil. Tonight we're going to close up our month-long episodes we've been having on drones, orbs, and UFOs. We're going to talk about a little bit what President Trump said, the disclosure that was released, and just a few odds and ends. All right, we're going to open up the show tonight with a little bit of cryptid news. I was going through X, just scrolling through, and I found this amazing clip I want to share with you of a sea monster. All right, now looking at this thing, it looks like it's a serpent-like creature. It has some small row of, I don't know what you call it, fins, dorsal-like fins down the back. Something you like to see out of a scary movie. Now, the information that was on this was lacking. There was no telling where it was found, who found it, what the nationality of the fishing crew was. Now, the only thing I can figure was somewhere in either the North or the North Pacific Oceans. I'll hazard to guess it's probably North Pacific, possibly, and it could have been a Russian trawler that might have found this creature. I mean, there was very little information about how long it was, what it totally looked like. For all I know, if this isn't real, it's probably the prop for some futuristic movie coming out here soon on a deep sea horror movie. Now, if anybody's got any information on this or knows something about this, reach out to me on our show here and let me know what your thoughts are about this sea monster that was supposedly found somewhere in our oceans. Because like I say, I'm at a loss for it. But I wanted to share that as tonight's opening post about an unknown sea monster. What'd you think about that, Ed?
Interesting.
I know, it looks like
a prop to me.
That's what I was thinking.
It really does. When you go back and you look at it, it's like, hey, look at that. Muscularly, it's not moving like in waves as the water moves. It's pretty stiff and rigid. It's probably some, but you never know. It could be the biblical Leviathan.
I hadn't thought about that. The biblical Leviathan.
Absolutely. But when you look at it real close, hold on a second. Let's go back. All right. Look at the nostrils.
Yeah.
Watch the nostril we see on our right-hand side, right there.
Mm-hmm.
What is that?
I'm not sure.
It moves right there and right there. It moves. So I don't know, I mean, it could be anything. I don't know, man.
It's interesting.
It's one of those weird things.
All right, folks, like I say, Ed and I are confused. All right, Ed's joining me a little bit to answer a few questions on and off tonight, so he'll be joining in a little bit. As you know, Ed is with Pickens Local, and he's also my producer. So if you ever get a chance, look up Ed's show, Pickens Local, and if not tonight, another night we'll drop you all his information so you can look up him and help his ratings out. All right, folks, let's get back talking about drones, orbs, and UFOs. Our new 47th president, Donald J. Trump, kept his promise and announced what was over New Jersey. The drones. You know whose drones they were? Ours. That's right, folks. Those drones that people were sighting over New Jersey and other places were ours. And what these drones were, as he said, they were FAA approved drones. Start showing some of these pictures up there on drones. What he was saying is these drones were up there for research purposes only. And other drones that may have been up there were civilian-owned drones. Now, what I'm thinking is, like I mentioned in the other shows, the drones that are supposedly up there for research purposes were probably, one, military. 2, 3-letter agencies. 3, certain corporations that have ties to the aerospace industry. And 4, probably certain universities that deal with aerospace programs. And probably 5, some aerospace programs that are out there looking. Now, some of these pictures I showed you are some of the drones. I did a little research to find, and some of them seem similar to what people are seeing. So that would probably explain the issues with the drones. You know what I'm saying, dear Ed?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I did a little research because last week we didn't start, and that's on me. I didn't sleep well last week. I was a little bit in pain, and I had a migraine, and I was not in my best shape to come in to do the show last week, so I apologize. Oh, and speaking of pain, the brace is off. No brace. Doctor said no fracture, not even a hairline. But he's scratching his head about why my wrist and hand are still swollen and what causes swelling. So, in other words, I got to take it easy and behave and get myself an assistant to do all my manual labor. All right. So, Trump saying basically our stuff was up there in the air. So, the only reason why our stuff would be up there, if it was up there for research, is roll that beautiful beam footage of the first orb there, Ed.
This one here?
Yes, this will do, is because people were seeing these. You know, this is one of the examples of one of the orbs that we're seeing up there. I mean, people are seeing these orbs that were just filling up the night sky. And then they're doing different tricks. Some of them had tails like comets. Some were stationary. Some were working in patterns. Some were in groups. Throw me up another one there, Ed. I mean, this is a picture of one that's supposed to be similar to the Ezekiel wheel that we talked about on one of our previous shows. Ed brought it up, and he read the passage from Ezekiel describing the orb. And the only difference between this and that one is this one looks more of a bluish green tint, maybe like an emerald, maybe. And so the possibility what happened was the drones went up to check out the orbs, and so more orbs came out to check on the drones, and so the drones and orbs are up there checking on each other. This is where we went and discussed before, and then the UFOs come out to check on both. So now the drones are up there checking on the orbs and the UFOs, because the UFOs come up there to check on the orbs and the drones, and then everybody's checking on each other. Does that make sense, Ed?
Sure.
I mean,
That's for the most part, yeah. I mean, yeah, it's a reasonable response. Extraterrestrials have come out because of things we don't know about things that we do know about.
Mm-hmm. And now it's still going on. But we don't have any answers to, per se, about the orbs or the UFOs, supposedly. Now, I have mentioned the name Dr. Stephen Greer before. Dr. Stephen Greer is a North Carolinian. He's a ER doctor, and he's also the premier guy to go to in the UFO circles when it comes to disclosure. He's been working with people over the years, including leaders of the CIA, various politicians in both houses, on both sides of the aisle, both Republican and Senate and Democrats, He's had conversations with both sitting and previous presidents about disclosure, about what's going on. Now, the biggest thing that Stephen Greer seems to be pushing is releasing information on black projects that bring about clandestine UFO work, which means is they're doing the work of copying crashed aircraft, or crashed UFOs. They go ahead and what's the word I'm looking for, Ed? Where they take the technology and try to retro it. What am I looking for? The word where
new technology in old stuff?
No,
that's a retrofit.
Taking somebody else's technology and trying to make it your own.
That's a reverse engineer.
That's it. They're working on reverse engineering and in a lot of cases have succeeded because over our own course of things, we have discovered the way to control gravity. Back in the early 1900s, there was a U.S. citizen, and it wasn't just Tesla. Tesla was not a U.S. citizen. Tesla was a Slovakian, I think. He was from one of the Serbian. He was a Serbian. But he discovered the means of anti-gravity. But there was also a U.S. citizen. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. He published a theory and an entire complete theorem and everything else, and got a patent on, get this, anti-gravity. And then it was classified top secret and whisked away. And his anti-gravity involved using electricity. Very similar to what Tesla was going with electricity. So these two men were using electricity to create primitive anti-gravity devices. So we were well on our way to anti-gravity. But certain people that had their hands into petrodollars sort of squashed it. World War II come around, the Germans had devised the Glock Bell, and then a Hamilton project, if I'm probably saying it wrong, but where they created their own saucers using red mercury. And supposedly the saucers fled to Antarctica. Then there was Operation High Jump. And we'll talk about Operation High Jump in another series again. I think we talked about it once before. We'll bring it up again. But like with the Glock Bell, it was acorn-shaped. And besides supposedly being a spacecraft, it was supposedly thought to go through time. To go forward in time or backwards in time. It was thought to be similar to a time machine, which is freaking amazing considering. Because the SS general that was over these projects, he disappeared. And the Russians straight up flat said, we don't have him. The Americans and British said, we don't have him. He disappeared before any of them could get him. Same time around when this Glock Bell disappeared. So some think maybe he got into it and was the pilot and disappeared. And then in 1965, Kecksburg, Pennsylvania, something that looked similar to the Glock Bell crashed. And the U.S. Army was on it really, really quick, like they knew it was coming. And they went out there and picked it up real quick. Ed's got a picture of the Glock Bell. He's going to bring it up here and we're going to see it. This is a artist version of the Nazis' Glock Bell. It was supposed to be a spaceship / time capsule. And this SS officer, I wish I could remember his name. I don't have it on top of my head right now. But he may have used it to escape forward in time to the 1960s, where he was promptly scooped up by the U.S. military and CIA, who knew he was coming because they had the information from the original OSS files. Sounds wild, but give it a thought. I don't do conspiracies much, but it sounds like a good thing to think about.
But I don't believe in conspiracy theories either. What I would like to categorize that at is a excuse me. I'd like to categorize that as a critical thinking.
Okay.
If you look here just with our own government here recently, some things that were absolutely obvious and they're like, no, it's not that, it's not that.
Right.
But it really was that.
Right.
Whether it be COVID-19 or these little UFO things
get this
and
on
all that.
COVID-19.
It's just critical thinking that you've obviously come up with, years before, but now and they're like, no. But yeah, it turns out it was.
You want to know something about your COVID-19?
Not sure.
I just found it out today.
Tell me. Parasites?
No. Okay, you've heard of the agency called USAID?
Yes.
The one that got closed down for sending money to everywhere?
Oh, the ones that they just did an insurgency on?
Yes.
That they ran. They said, it was like, I'm not a January 6th guy. Hold on, let me double screen this. I'm not a January 6th guy. I don't agree with a storm of the Capitol. I'm not that guy. But they did the exact same thing that these people did on January 6. It's like,
Get
this
this.
is crazy.
Get this, okay?
Tell me.
They're doing the record checks, seeing where all this money is going, okay? Dr. Fauci, through U.S. aid, sent $40 million to a lab in Wuhan, China, to study, get this,
Gain of function?
the bat coronavirus.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
But
Right.
that's neither here nor there.
Yeah.
Was it his fault that he assisted? Did this really happen? Is it just coincidence that $40 million from the U.S. that Fauci sent to a certain lab that was studying coronavirus got the money, and then later on we got COVID and all this stuff? All right. We're going to leave that there for another show.
Next thing we're going to be talking about horse dewormer and ivermectin and all the sorts of things that kind of make COVID disappear. in 2
That
days.
might, you're getting me to think about starting a second show.
Well, hey,
We just might have to do that.
I'll jump in on the coronavirus, and we can probably see if we can find a coronavirus aficionado, if you will. Maybe bring them in or give them a video chat link and see what they have to say as well.
Yeah. All right, let's go ahead and talk about disclosure. Excuse me. Dr. Greer is getting ready to do his disclosure, and guess what happened? Bring up this bald-headed fellow with the pictures. This is Jake Barber. He's a former Air Force airman.
Hey, you know what they say? Never trust a bald barber, though. I had to, man.
Sorry. Oh, Lordy. See what I have to work with sometimes.
Not much. Not much to work with over here.
All right, folks. But Jake Barber came on on Newsmax and released information about him and three men of his team having moved a UFO and other extraterrestrial craft over their career in working for clandestine organizations. Now, Jake has said, and we're going to bring up this picture. It's of a green. Now, okay, you see it in green because this is being seen through the lenses of night vision devices. Night vision devices uses green optics, okay, to gather light. What you're looking at is a egg-shaped UFO. It was supposedly about 20 feet in diameter and 8 to 10 feet in height, I believe, if I remember right. And him and his crew come in with the helicopter on what they call long lines, 150 feet of rope to 200 feet of rope. And they slung load this thing. Some people on the ground hooked it up. They lifted it and took it to an unknown location. And that's one of the first things. Now, this particular picture, Jake and his crew didn't do this one, but this was released to Dr. Greer, who Dr. Greer showed. What's next is a 1-minute video clip I want to show you of this egg being moved. Now, let's watch this here. Now, you see it's being, let's see, I think it's being lowered. And there's really no scale you can see except for the shadow of the helicopter above. It's being lowered down. There's no ground crew or nothing at this time to see it. And supposedly, Jake Barber and his crew had a few run-ins with doing something similar to this. Okay, somebody's showing how to fake it. There's some people showing faking this liftoff using green light and so forth. Yay, nay, I don't know. But I want your opinions. Do you think what we're seeing is the truth? Because, when I see this egg, and if you're my age or watch retro TV, Does the show Mork and Mindy mean anything to you, Ed?
Sure, absolutely.
How did Mork come to Earth?
He met a really bunch of nice guys who are all having a bunch of happy days.
Yeah, but what was the craft he was in?
Don't know, but he was Mork from Ork. I do remember that.
He came in an egg.
Okay.
When he started his show with Pam Dawson, he was in an egg when he landed in Denver. The opening credits show him kicking his way out of an egg-shaped UFO. And it's just strange that of all things that they would show for disclosure is an egg-shaped UFO. So either they're making fun of the movies, or the movies knew something we didn't, or they're insulting the intelligence of the people here in the world by saying, okay, this is one of the craft that we've ran into. I don't know what to say about this.
It could be, though. You know, you never know.
That's possible. I mean, we've seen some craft that look like egg-shaped with delta wings around them built in and stuff, so I guess anything's possible. But, you know, it's just strange because we're used to seeing, bring up the next picture, it's a Tic Tac. Okay, or it looks like a spinning top to me. That's one type of UFO the Nimitz carrier group encountered. And then what's our next one we got? This is the traditional saucer that has been seen. I mean, if you've been a fan of my show, you've seen some of the different saucers that we've shown, both from pictures, video clips, and artist renditions. And going with an egg for the supposed disclosure is just, I don't know, it's kind of, I don't know how to put it. I don't have the words for it. I was hoping for at least, you know, show me something delta winged or saucer shaped. You know what I mean, Ed?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's kind of a letdown. I mean, show me part of a craft that you recovered that was half destroyed, if that's the case, or a full-size craft, but you're showing me an egg. I don't know. Folks, what do you think? Do you think this is real? That this craft is what they're saying it is? Because, according to Jake Barber, the reason this egg-shaped craft came to Earth, now, I'm not mocking this, okay? Because I believe in the power of the mind. I believe in clairvoyance. I believe in psychokinetics. You know, I believe a lot in what you can do with ESP, clairvoyance. There's a lot of different things. He calls it psionics. Okay, that's where a person with their mind was able to reach out into outer space and call this egg-shaped object to Earth. That they're literally piloting this thing to Earth. Now, Jake says he's created a group, and they go out there and they call forth these craft to come to Earth. And at one time, when they called one of these craft to come to Earth, it was intercepted by another unidentified flying object, and they were having a dogfight. That they had to send an egg-shaped craft back out, because the other UFO, the bad guy UFO, wouldn't let them come down. So that sounds like a lot of information, but at the same time, it seems very real. But, you know, it seems like also something you'd see in science fiction. You know, it's like you're tantalizing. If you can do disclosure, please just pull back the damn curtain already, okay? Bring out the alien bodies, or bring out an alien. Show the actual saucers or something. I mean, this is not enough. You're teasing us like we're children. We really do need to see more. What's your thoughts on this, Ed?
Well, hey, I mean, if it's out there, let grown adults just kind of be grown adults. Let them do their thing. Let them, you know, take the information and believe what they want. As long as it's not fabricated, you know, to just sort of, you know, people want it so bad. So they're like, hey, we'll make something. We'll give it to them. We'll opiate them. and then they're fine and nothing else will come up and we'll look like the good guys because we gave them something. So in the future, if something comes out, then, we can go ahead and, this happened. Well, let's make a movie this way.
Yeah.
It's sort of like people want to know about JFK. And they went ahead and are releasing the JFK things. They're releasing the RFK things. Just remember, RFK, his dad was murdered. He was assassinated.
Right.
His brother JFK was president, and they're in Dealey Plaza, and they're like, hey, we're gonna release this movie, and we're gonna show you the impact and what it looks like, but there's like 2 separate tapes. And I'm a critical thinking kind of guy.
Yeah.
So they're in Dealey Plaza. You see the grassy knoll, the whole bit. And then from the other side of where they're shooting, once they pass the sign, the Zapruder tape. If you're familiar with Zapruder tape, the Zapruder tape, you'll see, and I'm getting to a point here, is the original tape. You'll see the entire tree into the ground with it on the Zapruder film. But the one that they released, it's like missing from the ground to about 6 feet up of the actual tree trunk. So you can see where there was like old school CGI happening.
Yeah.
And then the tree starts at 6 feet, the tree to the greenery of the branches at the top. So if they would give us the actual stuff, we could deal with it. A lot of people, it's not going to change their belief if they're Christian or whatever. It shouldn't change your belief whatsoever.
We've been conditioned, I believe,
Yeah.
like I've talked about through the media and everything by now, that you tell us the truth. Yes, there may be a small percentage of discourse that people might cause problems, but the rest of us are going to go, well, about damn time you told us.
Well, and the other side too is, and it's even more scary, if I may. The other side of this whole thing is that, there's a guy like you who's yearning and longing for that kind of information, right?
Of course.
But then there's the other people on the other side who are opiated and just don't care. They're like, oh, there's a Godzilla somewhere. Oh, okay. You know what I mean? It's just, it's this pendulous swing from one side to the other, and there's really not too many in the middle. There's those who are really, aficionados and they care, and they want to know, and they want to know truth, and they want to talk about it and figure it out. And then there's other ones who are like, meh, alien invasion. Okay. It's crazy.
It's a shame that you mentioned Godzilla, but I think a lot of people would believe Godzilla was out rampaging quicker than they would a UFO.
It's possible. Yeah. People just want to have some type of solace in the fact that there is a is or there is a isn't, and they just want to know. But with the track record, currently that we have with government, can you, even if they said, yeah, it's real, it's like you still wouldn't believe them. Or hold on, it's not real, you still wouldn't believe them. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's not being a skeptic, but it's critically thinking, like, what is possible?
Yeah.
Do we even know 1/10 of 1% of what's in the entire universe? Or let alone, we've only, besides topography and echolocation and LiDAR, we only know like 5% of the surface of the Earth.
I know.
We don't know. So you're saying there's a 95% chance that something really is out there? That's why you need to seek truth.
Exactly.
Because the percentages, simple math.
Exactly. All right, folks, we're going to close it up tonight. Ed, thank you for joining me tonight once again and having a little bit of a discussion. I think you've pushed my thoughts towards starting a separate show. Look in the coming weeks for a new show where we talk about things from politics, social economics. It's possible to be called Rants. Yes, I'm going to call it Rants, I think. And I'm going to ask Ed if he'll be my co-host on that, and we'll bring in other folks, and we'll talk about everything from COVID to possible conspiracies, what's going on in the government on both sides of the aisles, and stuff of that nature. And if you folks think this is a great idea, drop a line and let Ed and I know what you think about us starting a separate show called Rants. We're going to leave it all with y'all tonight, and thank you for joining us for episode 52, where we talked about disclosure. Next week, I'm going to try to find something a little more down to earth. Maybe we'll talk about dragons or something since we've mentioned Godzilla tonight. There's some interesting stories about dragons that they may have actually existed. And we're going to maybe talk about that next week. I think that'll be a wonderful down to earth topic.
Well, I'm going to tell you something too. I mean, if you want to look into the actual, etymology of the word dragon, they were dragons in the beginning. Those were the words that were used up until 1850, and then they changed the word to dinosaur.
Yes.
So there's that dinosaur, thunder, lizard.
I have an interesting theory about that.
But we can take it back to the biblical Leviathan. We can take it back to even using the word unicorn in the Holy Scripture, and what that meant.
Yes,
there is a lot to go in there, and why people will say, "Oh, there's unicorns in the Bible. How are you going to believe something like that?" Well, we can actually go back to show you the single-horned animal. It's a rhinoceros.
Yes.
Many things can be out there. Lots of keratin growing out the snoot. But yeah, I digress. Sorry.
No, but that'll be an interesting subject for us to talk about next week, because especially the British knights slaying dragons.
Yeah.
We're going to have an interesting conversation on this.
It's in every culture around the world about fighting with these giant looking things.
Exactly. And that's why I think it'll be an awesome topic to talk about next week.
What is awesome, what is also awesome in other cultures that are around the world since the beginning of time?
What's that?
Floods.
Yes. They have there's a lot of references about floods, and that'll be another show. And do you know they're pretty much dead on the same? The only difference is where they're located.
Well, if they're located all over the place and happen to be around near the same time, that might constitute a backing belief in a one world flood.
Yes.
Pangea, the splitting of the crusts and the water coming up between. Who knows?
Yep. Who knows? We'll see. All right, folks, thank you for joining us again tonight, and look forward to next week where we'll talk about dragons, and look for the coming weeks where we're going to come up with a new show called Rants, where we're going to talk about anything and everything, and Ed's going to be my co-host. And if I can ever get Jackie back around, maybe I can get her back to join us on Rants, because she'll make an interesting a third wheel on this, because she has some outstanding thoughts that would make this really spicy. All right, folks, we're going to leave you all tonight. Y'all be safe, be good, stay out of trouble.